Everyone has felt it at least once. The warmth of being someone's everything. Someone calls only when they are lost. Someone comes back only when they are broken. And you open the door every time because it feels like love. But what if it was never love at all? What if it was just need? This story is about something most of us have never questioned. We were taught that love means sacrifice. We were told that staying is strength. But sometimes, the most important thing a person can learn is the difference between being loved and being used. Gently, quietly, and often by someone who truly believes they love you. Let me tell you about a man named Elias. Elias lived in a quiet town near the edge of a large forest in the northern United States. It was a town where everyone knew each other's stories, and where problems traveled faster than good news. Elias wasn't rich. He did not own much. His house was small. His truck was old. But he had something people valued more than money. He was reliable. If someone's car broke down in the middle of the night, they called Elias. If a family needed help moving heavy furniture on a Sunday morning, Elias arrived before anyone else. If a violent storm damaged a roof, Elias was already climbing the ladder with a toolbox in his hands before the rain even stopped. People in town used to say, "If Elias is around, everything will be okay." And Elias believed that was his purpose. Helping people made him feel needed. And for a lonely man, feeling needed felt very close to feeling loved. He had a younger brother named Leo. Leo was charming, talkative, and always chasing new ideas. He dressed well and dreamed big. But Leo also had a pattern. Whenever his grand plans failed, whenever he lost his job, whenever life cornered him with debt, he came back to Elias, and Elias helped. He paid Leo's rent twice. He fixed Leo's truck 3 times. He sat at his kitchen table and listened to Leo talk about big opportunities that never quite worked out. Leo always promised, "Next time, brother, I'll make it up to you, I swear." Elias never asked him to, because asking felt wrong. Asking felt selfish. Elias also had a girlfriend named Sarah. Sarah was kind and bright when life was going well. She had a laugh that could fill a room. But when stress entered her life, something shifted. She stopped calling. She stopped asking about his day. She only showed up when she needed comfort. After a bad day at work, she would appear at his door in tears. After arguments with her family, she would sit on his couch and complain for hours. After moments when the world felt too heavy for her to carry alone. And Elias always opened the door. He made her tea. He listened for hours. He reassured her. He stayed awake late into the night, rubbing her back until she fell asleep. And when Sarah finally felt better, she would smile, kiss his cheek, and say, "You always know how to fix everything, Elias." And Elias would feel proud, because again, being needed felt like love. Years passed this way. He gave his time, his money, and his energy, believing he was building a life full of deep connections. Until one winter changed everything. It was the coldest winter the town had seen in a decade. The streets were covered in thick, unyielding ice. One freezing evening, an old neighbor called. A pipe had burst on his roof. Water was leaking into the living room. Without hesitation, Elias went. The roof was slick. The wind was brutal. While trying to secure a tarp, Elias's boot slipped. He fell. Not far enough to be fatal, but far enough to shatter his leg and tear the muscles in his shoulder. For the first time in his adult life, Elias could not help anyone. He was confined to his small house, cast on his leg, arm in a sling. At first, the phone rang constantly. People asked what happened. They wished him well. They said, "Let me know if you need anything." But as the weeks dragged on, the call stopped. The neighbor whose roof he had repaired 3 times never visited to check on him. The friend whose car he fixed every winter never came by to shovel his snowy driveway. Leo called once. He sounded rushed. "Hey man, heard about the leg. I'm super busy with a new business idea, but I'll visit soon. Hang in there." He never did. Sarah came twice. The first time, she brought soup but spent the entire hour complaining about a coworker who was trying to steal her promotion. The second time, she looked at Elias's cast, sighed and said, "It's just so hard seeing you like this. It depresses me." She left early. She didn't ask how his pain was. She didn't ask if he needed help getting to the bathroom. One quiet night, a month after the fall, Elias sat alone in his living room. The heater hummed softly. Snow fell heavily outside the window, burying the streets in white. His leg throbbed. The house was dead silent. The phone on the table had not rung in 4 days. And sitting in that silence, something inside him became very clear. Not bitter, not angry, just shockingly clear. He realized something simple and painful. These people had not loved him. They had depended on him. And dependence is not the same as love. Love stays when you cannot give. Need disappears when you cannot provide. For many days, Elias thought about this. He let the grief wash over him. He mourned the relationships he thought he had, not with resentment, but with raw honesty. When spring finally arrived, the snow melted. Elias's leg had healed enough for him to walk with a slight limp. The first thing he did was something small, but for him, it was revolutionary. He stopped answering every call immediately. He stopped rushing out the door to solve every crisis. He started asking simple questions instead. "Can you solve this yourself? Have you tried asking a professional? I can't tonight. I need time for myself." At first, people were shocked. Some were even annoyed. They called him changed or selfish. The people who only needed Elias slowly faded away like morning fog. But a few others remained. An old friend from work, whom Elias rarely noticed before, started visiting just to have coffee and talk about books. A neighbor down the street, who never asked for favors, began bringing him fresh vegetables from her garden. And one evening, Leo finally knocked on the door, not with a frantic request for money, but with a quiet apology. He stood on the porch, looking at Elias's limp, and said quietly, "I think I forgot you were my brother, and started treating you like my rescue plan. I'm sorry." Elias let him in, because boundaries do not destroy relationships. They reveal the real ones. And that is the quiet truth many kind people never learn. If you spend your whole life filling every empty space in other people's lives, you may wake up one day and realize no one ever learned how to fill yours. Being needed can feel like love, It feels warm. It feels important. But need is hungry. It takes until you are empty. Love is different. Love stays when the work stops. Love asks how you are. Love shows up, pulls up a chair, and sits with you, even when you have absolutely nothing left to give. So, if you recognize yourself in Elias's story, ask yourself one honest question tonight. When you had nothing to offer, who stayed? Because the people who truly love you are not the ones who need you the most. They are the ones who choose you, even when they don't need anything at all. And that is where real love begins.